The Hampshire police would realise how ridiculous this is. I posted something that he posted, you come to arrest me.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media page.
Anxiety from a social media post, that gets you arrested. Dr. Jordan Peterson is the co-founder of the Peterson Academy, and he joins us tonight. And sir, thank you for coming on. 10 years ago, a report found that 1,400 kids, mostly young girls, sexually abused by Pakistani gangs in the UK, covered up in the name of political correctness. Your thoughts?
Well, apart from the epidemic of trans butchery that also currently possesses the West, I think this is the worst scandal I've ever heard of. That 1,400 figure number that you cite is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, yeah. Member of the House of Lords stood up the other day and estimated 250,000. Now, I don't know if that estimate is right, but neither does anyone else. And yeah, it's beyond comprehension. And I've been shocked for, like, I've known about this for 15 years, something like that, and have been following it. And it's the sort of thing that's so awful that when people hear about it, they have to think that it's a lie.
They have to think it, and it's not. It's so atrocious that you don't want to believe it. And I wonder, do you think that I guess my question: what could possibly lead those in power in the UK to ignore something as atrocious as this?
It's very simple. There's two causes. The first cause is the disdain of the British elite for the working class, which we've had a fair share of also in the US, especially from the radical left. But the Brits have a pretty entrenched class system, and white working class people are really at the bottom of the hierarchy. And so people who've spoken up from the white working class have been ignored, and the girls pilloried as sluts, essentially. And then it's a complete bloody catastrophe for the open immigration policy, because it is these crimes are occurring at the hands of a very specific population and for very specific reasons, and no one wants to talk about those reasons at all, and no wonder. So it's just a nightmare for the political class. It doesn't really matter whether they're conservatives or progressives, let's say, because the multicultural experiment in this particular case went as badly wrong as you could possibly imagine, or, like, I can tell, you've been reading about this today, and you can see it you can hear it in your voice. It's so bad, you just can't imagine it. You just can't believe it. And it is that bad. And just think of the layers of bad. So you have an identifiable immigrant population committing the worst of all possible crimes on an unbelievably mass scale that's so severe and widespread that the government can do nothing but pretend it isn't happening, thereby exacerbating the crime, because it'll shed a devastating light on an entire set of progressive policies that are devastating the United Kingdom. Well, why is everybody lying? It's like all that is lies. Every single bit of that catastrophe is the most brutal sins of omission and lies that you can possibly imagine. And then anybody who did dare to speak out about it was instantly singled out by the progressive mob and devastated, and also by even the centrist people who, what would you say, might otherwise be willing to take a look at this. They just jumped on board. Yeah, it's awful. It's so awful. It's unforgivable.
You're right. I mean, obviously the people that have done this deserve to be in the depths of hell, but also those that ignored it for political reasons belong right there next to them.
Well, they didn't just ignore it. It's worse than that. They ignored it and tortured the people who brought it to light.
Yes.
Like, it's one thing to ignore it. It's another thing to identify the people who are bringing it to light, including the victims, and then to make their life a living hell and to gaslight them and tell them that, well, they brought it on themselves, let's say in the case of the victims, or they're just like neo-Nazis or racists for daring to point to the actual perpetrators.
Everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.